Hey again, guys. My latest project is I've got a radiator leak on my FarmTrack 45 diesel tractor. Got a little leak along the top soldered seam there. Had this tractor right at 25 years. My wife gave it to me for our 25th wedding anniversary, and we're going on that 50th year here. Coming up here shortly will be our anniversary. So anyway, I haven't done much to this tractor. I've replaced the battery a couple times in 25 years and had a couple flat tires, but that's really about all I've done to it. Made some modifications. I put that thing on there so I could mount a loader on the back and, put some lights and stuff on it, but pretty much it's stock. But the other day I used it to pull up some old shrubs, and when I parked it, I noticed I had a little pool of water under the tractor. And so I used my handy dandy radiator pressure tester. I put that cap on it, and I put about 5 or 10 psi in the radiator because it was cold by the time I noticed the leak. And sure enough, I had some seepage along here, and it's still wet. So I've got to pull that radiator out and get it to a radiator repair shop. There's a buddy here in Richmond does my work for me. He's done my deuce and a half gas tanks, diesel tanks, and some other work for me. So looks like what we got to do is pull off the hood and this fairing here. This should open up. I got to take out the air intake, and I think I've got to take off the shroud, which have some little flat head screws here, which means I've got to take those fairings off. And obviously the radiator hoses. And it should, and that's the key phrase here, lift up out of the top, I think. I've never done one of these, but we're gonna figure it out as we go. So let me get started on this, and I'll get the camera set up and we'll work our way through it. We made a little progress here. I did take off my negative battery post because I'll be working over here next to the positive post. I didn't want to short anything out. First thing I had to do was disconnect this muffler clamp, which holds on the muffler. I shot a little PB blast on that, be sure it's loosened up, because like I said, it's been on there 25 years. But they zipped right loose, and a little twisting and pulling, and the muffler came right off. The hood came off. It's only 4 machine screws, 2 on the top, 2 on the far side. There's slotted screwdriver heads with a 11 millimeter nut on the back. And then there was 2 little guards here on the side, one over by the alternator and one over here by the injector pump. So now I need to take off the air cleaner intake and drain the radiator, and the drain is way down there on the bottom, so I'm going to do that. Then I can take the hoses off, but it still looks like I'm going to have to take the shroud off to get it over this fan. And to do that, I'm thinking I'm going to have to take this piece of fairing off, because those screws that hold the shroud on, I can't get to them. There's one here and one further down. So I'm probably going to have to take this piece off. Not really looking forward to that. But anyway, we'll see what it takes to get it off, and I'll let you know. Well, I got it out. As I suspected, I had to take this cowling off. Just 4 bolts, 4 9/16 head bolts, 2 in the back, 2 in the front. That tilts out the way. There was a little inspection plate I pulled off. I really didn't need to take that off. That's that inspection plate there. Goes right there. Don't know what it's there for. I was thinking I could access the bolts to the radiator, the mounting bolts that go vertical, but I get to them from either side rather than from in there. So at any rate, I had to pull the grill off. This front cowling lays back, and with those 2 bolts, I still had to take the shroud off the radiator. The bolts wouldn't allow it to come. The shroud wouldn't let it come up enough to clear it. So 6 little sheet metal screws hold that onto the side of the radiator. That flop that way, radiator comes out, and then the shroud comes off. So now I get to probably I'll power wash all these pieces, parts here, get all the 25-year-old crud out of here. Here's some more of the pieces, parts over here. The air cleaner, hose or pipe, 2 little cowlings. There's a muffler there. There's a strap wrench I had to take that off with. Here's this side view. Of course, with the loader on it, makes life a whole lot more difficult. You know, you have to reach over and under and through. I do suggest you having a little magnetic pickup tool. I dropped half a dozen bolts and nuts and washers because my hands are in such awkward positions reaching over the loader. But at any rate, I got it all apart. And tomorrow I'll probably take that radiator to the radiator shop, and he'll probably have it in a couple days. He's usually pretty quick unless he's really backed up. But anyway, I'll get that back in and get it all back together and show you some reassembly here. The only tricky part was, like I said, you know, access to the nuts and bolts. It was pretty straightforward as far as being intuitive about what has to come off and get to everything. A little more difficult than I thought, but mostly because the loader was in the way. Anyway, after I get the radiator back, I'll show you the reinstallation. I got my radiator back today. He only had it 1 day. It was a pretty quick turnaround. Cleaned it up and, you know, washed it all out and everything, pressure washed it, and he, you know, fixed a seam here and pressure tested it and everything, and all good. So now I'm going to put the mounting bolts in the bottom here. They're basically carriage bolts with a round head and a square underneath that, and they go in these slots and they lock in that square part. So I'm just going to do this with see, it locks in there, and then a little rubber piece insulator goes on there. Same thing over here, kind of angles in, locks in. Get this rubber piece oriented the same way. There we go. I'll take and sit this in the tractor. First thing I've got to do is put the shroud back roughly in place over the fan. That way when I put the radiator down in there, I can bring the shroud back. I don't know about you guys, I usually use copper coat with a brush. You know, it's in a can, and coat the inside of my radiator hoses and heater hoses and everything. And the company that makes that stuff, K&W, stopped making it in the can. They only make an aerosol now. So I don't know what you guys have been using. I liked it because it didn't harden, and it was, you know, you could take the hoses back off. But I'm going to need to find another substitute for that. I still have a little bit of the copper coat left. I'm going to use probably the remainder that I have on the upper and lower radiator hoses, but I don't know what else you guys do. I contacted the company and asked if they have a substitute or what they recommend, and they said they only make the aerosol now, and they really didn't have any recommendations for me. So I didn't think that was very good customer service. You know, they could have at least recommended something. But anyway, I'd like to know what you guys use. I've been using copper coat since the 70s with a little brush, and it works good because you can just kind of stick the brush in there and run it around, you know, kind of like PVC cement you do on a pipe, and it worked great. And like I said, it didn't harden, and it didn't get into the systems or anything, and it was good stuff. But they stopped making it. So anyway, I'm gonna probably set the tripod up here and then see if we can watch me put that radiator in. Those bolts you just saw me put in go in those two holes there. And hopefully it'll stay there long enough for me to get the nuts on the bottom. They're 11/16 nuts, and kind of snug those up, and we'll put the shroud on, hook the hoses up. I'll probably go ahead and fill it with antifreeze. It's the manual says it takes 28 pints, which if you do your elementary school conversion, that's about 3.5 gallons. So I bought 2 gallons of antifreeze, and then I'll mix the rest with water. But I'll get all that and get it running, and then before I put all the sheet metal back on, I'm going to take it back outside and power wash all this stuff here while I've got the opportunity. You know, that looks kind of grubby right there. So while it's apart, I'll power wash it, and then I'll pull it back in here and I'll start putting the sheet metal on it. Let me go set the tripod up. We'll get the radiator on. All right, well, I'm going to have to block the camera here to get this guy in. Nice if I put it in the correct direction. Need a little light down there. Okay, sitting on the bottom radiator hose. Not going down all the way for some reason. I don't see anything in the hole. Don't know why that's not going in. Like you can see what the problem is here with the loader. Trying to climb all around and try to get access. There you go, went in that time. The insulators are still on there, that's good. You get the nuts. Try to get those guys started on either side. extension for that one. Steering rods are in the way to get the impact in there. Is one going to be enough? It should be. Should have snugged it up. Excellent. Now put the shroud on. I'll go grab the little sheet metal screws for that. Like I said, it's just 6 little self-tapping sheet metal screws that hold the shroud on. And since it's got a little bit of adjustment in here, you want to make sure that when you put it on, it clears the fan all the way around. I'm going to put one on each side and then just kind of feel around the fan to be sure there's enough clearance to the shroud all the way around. Don't want the fan to hit the shroud. Get my hand around everywhere. There's a blade. That feels like it. I'll put the others in and get the hoses on, and then I'll bump the engine over a couple times just to be sure. I was really happy the guy got my radiator done in one day. And he's pretty reasonably priced. I'll put a link to his shop down in the comments. Anybody in the Richmond area can patronize the guy. I've used him since the 70s He's worked at several different radiator shops over the years, and I've always followed him around. And last, I don't know, maybe 20 years, he's owned his own place. And he's the only place in the city that does gas tanks. And he kind of specializes in motorcycle tanks. He's a motorcyclist too, so he's always got a pile of motorcycle tanks in his shop. You know, they're always painted up really well. Let me go get the remaining copper coat that I have, and I'll put those hoses on with that. This is the stuff I'm talking about, this copper coat, K&W copper coat. It's got a little brush in the can. And that's, like I said, they've discontinued this product and only sell it in an aerosol. I'm really disappointed in that because I don't really know what else to use on these hoses. There's one. And get the bottom one, and I'll tighten the clamps up. Spin my light around here. There we go. Tighten those clamps up. One. Another place where the loader is in the way. Having to work by feel here, I can't see it. I think I'm getting it now. All right, I think I'm gonna bump the starter a couple times and just check the clearance of the fan. I want that stuck in the engine. My battery cable back on. Should be good enough to crank that way. Let's see. Neutral. Yep. You can see the fan going around and around, not hitting anything. That's a great thing. Disconnect my battery cable again so I'll remember to tighten it up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill it up with coolant and just slap my muffler on it so that I don't have to listen to open exhaust. And I'm going to back it out of the garage and do some power washing on it. So that'll be our next step. I'll put the coolant in and then I'll power wash. Well, I got my tractor outside here so that I can power wash it. I got the radiator in, obviously, and filled it with coolant and ran it over here. And I didn't let it get too hot because I don't want to be spraying cold water on my exhaust manifold, crack it, so they're relatively cool. But I'm going to use this engine degreaser on it first. They say to spray it on there and let it sit for a couple of minutes before you wash it off. So I want to get all that junk off of there. Like I said, the tractor, I've had it for 25 years, and while I've got it apart, I might as well clean it. So I'm gonna hit those hard to reach areas since I got the sheet metal off, and we'll take it from there. So I'm going to get the spray in, and then I'll get to power washing. Well, I finished with my power washer and pressure washing. You can see everything cleaned up pretty good there. The engine cleaner degreaser looks like it did its job. I mean, it doesn't look like a brand new one, but got 25 years worth of crud off of it. I'm happy about that. Cleaned down in there by the injectors and everything. So got all that sprayed and cleaned. So I'm going to let it sit out here and dry in the sun just a little bit before I fire it up and put it back in the garage. And then I'll let it drip dry overnight inside. And tomorrow I'll put the sheet metal back on it. Alright, right now we're probably going to try to get the sheet metal back on the tractor. We'll try to get a little bird's eye view of what we're doing here. Hopefully that works out well and you'll be able to see what I'm doing. I'm going to start with the cowling up here and then work my way back. So hopefully you'll get a better view from up here. We'll see. Got everything dried off. It set overnight. There's that front cowling. If I can sit it down, I have to climb up in the loader again. Looks like it's got to go down over top of the radiator. So I need to climb up on here. And sit down in there. on that side a little more. Oh, we're not doing too bad though. Let me grab the bolts. Start with the two on this side. Something's opening it up over here. I don't know what. The problem with doing sheet metal is always some adjusting and trying. I think I bent the little tab when I took it off. Let me get a persuader. This mounting tab looks like it's bent down a little bit. I probably did that when I was flopping it around. Trying to get it clean. A little better, but I don't think that was the only problem. Another bolt getting started over there. Down in there. Oh, I need a universal on that. Started good. Yeah. Once I get them all in, I'll tighten them up. think I'm going to pry that one over a little bit. Got the last one over here that we can't get to. I need to get that in there. I think I'm going to need a piece of tape to put on my socket to hold that bolt in. A little piece of blue painter's tape on the socket. See what that does for me. Well, blue tape doesn't stick to a slick socket too well. Try something different here. Let me see if I can get my hand down there. The tape idea isn't going to work. Got the power steering cooler is in the way for me to get that bolt in there. Well, I actually got it started. All right. Excellent. Now what I'm going to do is try to get it to tighten up. Need another extension. Just not long enough to get the impact down on it, but just now. Like that one. There we go. Next, there's these two braces from the engine. They go to hold the cowling in place. One on each side. Fortunately, that's not too difficult to get to. One on the other side. After this one will take a little persuasion. Well, I'm going to push a little bit. If I can do it this way. I did it. That's a little fine tuning on the farm equipment. Try to snake the wiring through there, and also the air intake piece of tubing. Let's try the headlight wiring first. Where's that got to go through? Step stool so I can see. get to that. Those clamps up. Front one. Loosen it up a little bit. Get over the hose, there we go. Alright. We can hook these wires up to the headlights. This is a ground. And then this is the ground. This is for the headlights. Pliers to push those in. I think that's it. And these just kind of fit in some slots and slide down. There we go. Put my battery up and be sure they work. Yep. I think the next thing will be the hood. Kind of unwieldy, not really that heavy, but awkward. Okay. Smaller nuts and bolts on here. These are the ones I can't hardly get to. Hopefully I don't drop them like I did taking them apart. Already dropped a washer, there it is. Well, I got that one started. Not too much trouble. See how lucky we are on this one. Oh, washer again. Got that one started too. Then we need the two on the top. The back one is a long one, as I recall. Got that one started. I got that one. Well, they were a whole lot easier going in than they were coming out. Not to tighten those up yet. Till I get that front hood on. That's got to line up with it. I'm going to lower this and latch it in place and then try to tighten them up. I want to see how that works. Called a 10 millimeter. All right. Yeah, that opens and closes okay. Yep, just like it's supposed to. And then this air cleaner goes on there. Yep. I'll put the muffler back on once I get these nuts and bolts tightened here. Got those two. As far as the body lines actually line up pretty good. I mean, we're not building a concourse show car, but I didn't expect them to line up that well. Okay. Be sure this closes okay. Latching good. There we go. These little side covers on. Couple sheet metal screws. And this one requires a nut that holds it onto the injector pump. Screwdriver would be nice. again a couple more sheet metal screws and a little nuts and bolts. Goes into a bracket. Once it goes into a bracket that I can't see. Feel, there we go, I actually got it in there. Now the two little sheet metal screws. For that. Go. Tighten this one up. Next, we put the muffler back on. And a deep well socket for that muffler clamp. The hood back up so I can get to it. And got a little light on the subject. There we go. Put my battery cable back on, and we will be complete. Right. Okay. No parts left over. No screws left over. Well, that went pretty well. Said the tricky part was working around the loader, and I have to give thanks to my guy Kenny at Kenny's Radiator Repair for getting me fixed so quickly. But I think that completes this project, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this.